Okay, you guys, we have to talk about Jonathan David because he went as an unused sub on Tuesday in Juventus' 2-0 friendly over Palermo, making it appear more likely that the Canadians' time in Turin will come to an end sooner than later. Gareth, do you feel like the writing is kind of on the wall in that respect?
Yes, as much as that says wheelhouse over there, which it does, yes, the writing is on the wall. Look, when you're building up to a new season, you're trying to amalgamate new players. Randall Kolo Muani started for Juventus. They're still in the market to bring in more strikers. And when they decide to play Milik, the milkman, over Jonathan David, that is a worrying sign for me. And I think that it signals where this is going. And that means an exit out of Juventus for Jonathan David, which, let's be honest, might be the best thing for the player. I know that all players want to dig in and prove that their signing, the signing of that player was worthwhile and that things can pan out. But the fans, the supporters have turned against Juventus. Seems like the club has kind of given up on him as well after a very poor end of the season. And yes, it seems like the writing is on the wall. That he'll be on his way out. Gazzetta del Sport, I mean, they're writing about it all the time. The Juventus newspapers seem to be pushing this idea that there's interested parties to take Jonathan David out of Juventus, even if it's on loan with an obligation to buy. That seems to be where we're at right now. Unfortunate for David, but it might be a blessing in disguise.
Jordan?
I have so many things to say about Jonathan David. And the first thing I want to say as well is the people that are doubting homeboy just need to understand that this is still the guy. I know he scored 25 goals his last year with Lille and only scored 8 with Juve over like 46 matches, right? I get it. There's a huge drop off, which if you follow Serie A and you follow how strikers can be, a dip is part of the course. Like that's what it could be. But we cannot understate that this next move is crucial. And for me and his camp, and if anyone from Jonathan David's camp is listening, this next move has to be about playing and prioritizing that first. He's already made the move. He already has the bag. He will still be a guy that Canada reveres. We did our best 11 the other day. There's no best 11 ever, and you don't put Joe David there. And he still, for me, has more to give. But getting this next move, it can't be certain clubs in Turkey, and this needs to be a place where you can go and play competitive football every week, and we can see that joy and that glimmer and that bite back in his game. Now, is it the clubs that we're speaking of? I would prefer one over the other, but it's just difficult because he's in this position where he's not an undisputed 9 going into any of these clubs, right, that he's linked to. But you can always think about, okay, Champions League football, is he going to get his moment? But it does feel almost inevitable at Juve that his time there is up. That's the biggest thing that has stuck out to me with all the stuff that we've heard.
We'll talk about the 2 clubs who are rumored to have interest in him in just a second. But Jordan, do you agree with Wheels' sentiment that regardless of where he ends up, that this is sort of a blessing in disguise and the best thing for him as opposed to a step back in his career almost?
Yeah, I can't say it's a step back because for me, I think it was a win for the 5 seasons at Lille, and he was the best player every single year. Like I said, the last time that he played at Lille, 25 goals. And then, okay, you made a move that was risky, gutsy. You can't fault a player if Juve comes calling. You know the strikers that have played for Juve? Like to be under that class as a Canadian from Ottawa, like you can't really fault him for trying that. You tried it. Maybe it's not working. It's time to maybe find a different home. And make sure that this one you can really sink your teeth in and sink your teeth in quickly. So I don't look at this as a setback. I still think he's winning. He's paid. He's a known name. Like even this World Cup, maybe people could argue that he wasn't his best self. I know about the competition, but he did still score goals. He hat tricks. Like there's a lot to like about Jonathan David, but this next move is imperative to get right, to get him playing, to feel good. Because for me, these next 2-3 years are the ones where you should be reaping like the best out of him. He's in that prime mid-20s where you guys see Jonathan David's best football.
Let's talk about it.
Before we look to the future, Juventus had a bad season last year.
Yeah, they weren't great.
Managerial changes. They had 3 strikers. None of them were good. Vlahovic is moving on.
They played horrible football.
Played poor football. No Champions League.
Let's contextualize the conversation a little in that respect.
Yeah, it's not just David. And that's why for the large part, they're just trying to bring in like new strikers, like new number nines. That's why Kolomoani, like, I don't even know if they're making the best moves for them, but I think that they know that they need to move on. Like the temperament there is a lot different. So is the expectation around that. So there was a lot out of his control. And Jordan said it, he has got paid. His salary is not changing. He's not taking a pay cut. Someone's signing those paychecks. So money is kind of secondary. He might actually make more money through any other future deal. If a deal, like if there's an obligation to buy or if there's a loan deal, like him and his representatives might even make more of the fact every time a player moves, it's good for business, at least for the representatives, right? So, but I think that he needs to go to a place that he's going to be comfortable, whether it's a new challenge or look, like you mentioned, you kind of pushed Turkey to the side. Turkey's been spending cash, signing good players this offseason. I wouldn't rule out anything at this point, but it seems like two clubs, PSG and Aston Villa, look to be ahead of the queue. Those are the two clubs that are bringing the most noise just in terms of potential interest at this point.
Who do you think would fit the best? Which club, Gareth?
Oof. If PSG wants you, it's very difficult to turn down that opportunity. Like,
but is that like a similar situation to the Juventus transfer?
I don't think so, because I think that there's better players playing for PSG, and I know that they're going to be a strong club. They're going to be front runners to go on and win Ligue 1 this season and be one of the 2 or 3 clubs that are favored to win Champions League as well. And with the amount of fixtures that they play, there's going to be a lot of game time, and they're going to be playing with top players. And all it takes is an injury or a couple of them maybe to potentially open up other spots. Looks like Bradley Barcola could be going out of the club as well. He's been linked with interest to Liverpool. So I don't think that would be the worst move. I know that he wouldn't be a locked-in starting player for them, but I do think there's a pathway to really being able to contribute and add something. And Luis Campos is at the club as well. And he's a player that was the architect of that successful Lille side that Jonathan David was part of, that went on to win Liga. So I think there's a familiarity factor there. And I don't think that Campos would be going out of his way to advocate for a player like Jonathan David if he didn't think that he'd be a good fit. And certainly he's a really good player in Ligue 1 as well. Aston Villa is intriguing to me as well, because we spoke about this when it came to Alistair Johnston. When the Premier League comes calling, how do you turn down that opportunity? Especially like a club like Aston Villa, won the Europa League last year, is going to be playing Champions League football. They have 2 strikers right now who are ahead or would be ahead of Jonathan David in Tammy Abraham and Ollie Watkins. But there's been so many rumors about Ollie Watkins maybe going out, leaving the club. And if they're trying to line up potentially bringing in Jonathan David to the club, that would suggest to me that Watkins could be leaving, which would be really interesting, because I don't think Tammy Abraham's necessarily a shoo-in. Unai Emery also, just like Luis Enrique at PSG, excellent managers, like top managers who I think that would treat Jonathan David with respect and help maybe take his game to another level as well. So to be honest, Mac, I think that both moves could make a lot of sense. There's a lot of positives around either potential move. And if I was Jonathan David, I'd be like, adiamo. Is that goodbye? Adios, Juventus.
Yeah,
I'd be looking towards PSG or Aston Villa, seeing which one could lead to a better place in terms of pathway of prominence and playing time.
Jordan, what do you think makes more sense? Or is this a win-win situation?
It kind of is for me. I mean, depends how you look at it and what you want to value. PSG, obviously, he tore up Ligue 1, won with Lille, knows that league well. I know familiarity with players is a big thing as well. Like, you get French language, like all these little things, these little percentages could really favor him. But let's not kid ourselves. PSG broke my heart because they're now back-to-back Champions League winners. Like, the fact that they go about their business a certain way, he'll be to some degree a role player on that team that is star-studded up top. Like star-studded, they have so many weapons, so many players that are in their prime that are also showing that they can be difference makers, right? So he'll just be another player. And I almost want to see him being the big dog to some degree. He's not going to be the only threat. Like, you're talking about big clubs here with Aston Villa and with PSG, but I just feel like with Villa in the Premier League, the fact that he won't need a lot of service to get a goal. His movement is probably his best quality of his game. I really feel like I could see him in the Premier League for a club like Villa where he's beloved. I also think that's a difference. You're leaving Juve and there's a little bit of animosity to some degree, and people didn't give him that love that he deserves. He's just a chill guy, right? Like he's as nice as they come. I really could see him fitting in Aston Villa and just people loving him and him just going about his business and being humble, but just being very potent in front of goal. So yeah, and them being European champions last year as well. This is a prime time. Aston Villa is no joke. They're not a slouch of a team. They're really growing in European football. If I had to pick though, I'd say Aston Villa because I'm biased. I want to see him in the Premier League. I want to see what he can do. Then there are people that talk about Jonathan David like, oh, well, you did it in a farm league for Ligue 1 and you did it for Lille. He is a top quality striker. If he starts scoring goals for Aston Villa, the doubters, the haters, the people that don't think that he's quality, they can just shut their mouth. I was going to say something different, but then I probably get
I almost
reprimanded.
saw that one coming.
Yeah. But they can shut their mouth. That feels good.
Jonathan David, he's just a chill guy, all right? Like, I think he's in a good place. Nice man. Two great options. We'll see. Obviously, we're at the start of a new World Cup qualifying cycle, Nations League and potentially Copa America on the horizon. So this move will be pretty important as it relates to his form with Canada, and we can see the men's national team in action this fall. We've got 3 matches coming up in the next window. Exciting stuff. Okay. All on One Soccer, you guys.